Howdy. Welcome to my Run Cast. So yesterday I drove myself to training and drove home so that I could have a massage in the afternoon. So I didn't do my run. So I had a day of rest with running. Back to my run. And it's a little bit hard today. Having a little bit of a hard day. So when I was getting my massage yesterday, I was listening to a podcast. It's called If Books Could Kill. And the two hosts basically just take books that are horribly researched basically, or that are talking way above their pay grade, and they sell really, really well. And then, so these have to be kind of bestsellers or like really popular books. They can't just be obscure books that nobody read and they suck. Like that's not the point. The point is they're really big. So it's like Art of the Deal and like the 40-hour work week and, you know, stuff like this. Atomic Habits. But I actually can't even remember the name of the book they were pulling apart during my massage. I think it's Better Angels or something like this. But this guy's research is lacking and his statistics are very cherry-picked and that kind of thing. But one part that he was writing about, and so they were talking about, and this needs a caveat here, which is that not only did I not read the book that they're talking about, so I'm talking about people talking about a book that was read, so I'm not talking about his book at all. I'm talking about research that was done that's accurate, that he took and made interpretations on, and his interpretations are wrong. So that part doesn't matter. The thing is, they were talking about this one thing, and it got my mind spinning, which is that at some point in civilized history, the court was created. So back in the day, everything was about kind of like entrepreneurial homicide. So if someone stole something from you or attacked your family or did whatever, you would go kill their family or whatever the thing is. So there's a lot of like blood feud. Everything's about honor. Like there's a lot of killing going on. So like lots of murder, lots of homicide everywhere because it's like this eye for an eye situation. Then the court is created. And this is not true of like impoverished people. This is only the upper classes. But this entrepreneurial murder stopped because it was like, if something is done to me, I can go to the court and the court will handle this situation for me. I'm an American. We are very, very litigious. So this is something that we picked up on and have become very, perhaps more than anyone else in the world, very happy to drag the court into whatever our little quibbles are about. But that's better than murder, for sure. So this Western concept of justice has changed or shifted this idea of honor, like defending your honor, instead to repairing dignity. I think that's actually pretty cool. However, if you look at, and these are my thoughts, these are not from the podcast, if you look at a lot of what our kind of lores are, or our stories are in the West, maybe particularly America, we have a lot of like action movies, hero movies, DC characters, whatever, who are more into this like entrepreneurial murder thing, but we tend to have them be law enforcement or related to law enforcement or ex-military, and part of that is lazy writing in order to explain why they have this particular set of skills that they can go do whatever with. Part of that is just lazy writing. But part of it also is that by having them be adjacent to or even just pro-police, pro-military, like the Batman, very pro-police, or like the Punisher, all of these things, they're doing revenge. Like what they do is revenge. But we're kind of like, but it's not bad. Like they're not the bad guys because they're killing bad guys, and also they're like kind of adjacent to the law kind of thing, which is a very weird thing that the West, particularly America, is like really, really into. And the reason this was kind of like blowing up in my head and I was getting kind of excited about it, intellectually excited about it, is that Kevin has been doing some research on slave trade and kind of the history of slavery in Thailand and basically this area of Southeast Asia. And there's this huge difference between the West and colonizing and then what was happening in Thailand and Southeast Asia, which is opposite in that in the West, you wanted to like kill a bunch of people in order to take their land. So you like murder the people so that you can have the land, and then you're defending the land. So that's like what every Western is about, is these like pioneers, colonizers who are coming in and they have to like protect their land, right? From the bank, from Native Americans, from ne'er-do-wells, bandits, a crooked sheriff, like all of these different things. This is what all of our lore is about. In Southeast Asia, and what Kevin has been researching, and you can read about this on 8limbsus.com Muay Thai forum, and there are hyphens between all of those, so Muay-Thai-forum. He's written about this there, so you can go read his research there. But basically, land was not the thing. Like, you were not trying to get land because there's so much land. So rather, what you're trying to do is capture people in order to come work your land as slaves. There's a lot of slavery in Southeast Asia. This is part of the lore of Muay Thai. So Nai Konam Tom was kidnapped by the Burmese, and then he won his freedom through Muay Thai and all of this stuff. Like, slavery is a very, very not distant past to reality and structure in Southeast Asian culture. So like a lot of debt ideas and kind of like how you're indebted to or working for, whatever these things are, they still exist within the society. I don't watch enough Thai movies to know whether this comes into play in any Thai movies at all whatsoever. But this whole like vengeful thing that we have in the West that's very popular in our action movies is not present here. The two I can think of that are like close are movies that are very popular in the West. So Ong Bak with Tony Jaa, and then its sequel, which in Thailand is called Tom Yum Goong. In the West it's called The Protector. In both of these cases, Tony Jaa's character is going to try to recover something. He's not seeking revenge. He's trying to recover the head of the Buddha in the first one and his elephants in the second one. And he gets pretty ragey. Like, he does try to kill that lady because she killed his elephant and this kind of thing. But it's not a revenge movie. It's a recuperating. So it's a little bit, at least not far from the slavery thing, in that like earning your freedom or going to get your family that's been captured as slaves, like this kind of thing. A little bit more like Gladiator in that sense or something. I'm not sure. But the reason I got excited about this difference is that when Kevin was researching all of this slavery in Southeast Asia, he was trying to understand a point about the cowardice of the knockout in Muay Thai. He's written an article about this as well, but basically it's not about like going and slaughtering a people, it's actually going and subduing a people. And so in Muay Thai, the more dignified, civilized way to conduct what you're doing is to get someone to submit rather than to knock someone out or kill someone. Whereas in the West, we're all about like, oh my God, knock them out. Never leave it to the judges. Like, I think people misunderstand what that statement actually means. And so when I was listening to this in the podcast and remembering this research that Kevin's been doing, I started getting kind of excited by this difference in how to view fighting or how to view sport. And the reason I was kind of like leaping to this thought was that not long ago, I even posted it on my Facebook page, my Muay Thai page. There was this night of fights at Pet Yin, and there were two really bad fouls, two separate fights with two really bad fouls, and the whole night was actually really weird. But these two fouls were kind of crazy. The first fight, the foul didn't get called at all, and what was crazy about it is that one, the guy first fouled by doing like a leg hook trip, which this is a foul in Muay Thai, but it's actually only called by one ref, my favorite ref at Rajadamnern, who's the only person I ever see call this as a foul. It is a foul, and the fact that it's never called doesn't necessarily mean that it's not considered one anymore, because judges possibly mark it, even if it's not called to like stop the fight, so I don't know. But this kid hooked the leg and fouled, and then as the ref was separating them, as the ref is literally pulling them apart, he hooked over the ref's arm and hit the opponent. You cannot hit your opponent on a break like that. That's very, very bad. I got yelled at by Karahat, who is not a yell at person, about not listening to the ref because I need my opponent after the ref had put his hand on me, which to me, I was like, my brain just had not like caught up with my body. And Carhat was like, you need to get that under control. Like, not listening to the ref is a really, really bad thing. So this happens first, right? So maybe the second instance in that night was a little bit more, you guys got to listen to us kind of thing. But the second foul was really bad. You can see a clip of this online. It kind of like went around a lot. I don't know why. I think that people just like want engagement, and so they'll say, what do you think about something that's like not really debatable? So this foul happened where this guy I think he got hooked in the body or something, kicked in the body, and it took a second. I think it was a liver shot because there was a delay, and then he dropped down to like a squat and was about to kind of like fall over on the ground. And when he dropped down, his opponent backed up and stopped. And then after a slight pause, he suddenly charged and kneed his opponent in the shoulder, aiming for his face, but ended up hitting his shoulder. But the guy who had already gone to the ground, his glove was on the ground. So he has his glove on the ground. This makes it, without question, a foul. But on top of that, when the ref saw that this guy, even though he had taken a step back and stopped, when he saw that he was starting to charge him, he leapt in and he put his leg, like in between the charging opponent and the downed opponent, which is something that you'll see a lot of Thai refs do. They like stick their leg between fighters in order to kind of block or stop any strikes that are happening while an opponent is being separated or downed or any of these things. So after this guy throws this knee into him and he's like running around cheering because now he's definitely knocked this guy out, the referee stood up and he looked, and I think that he was like checking with officials around the ring as well, like maybe some kind of like confirmation. And then he goes over to the guy who's on the ground and he lifts his hand into the air, meaning the guy who got knocked out is the winner. He's winner by foul, winner by disqualification, whatever you want to call it. And the guy who had done the foul was like around the ring like, oh my God, what? That's not right. That's not a foul, blah, blah, blah. This is so bad. When it went up, and for whatever fucking reason, they were like, what do you guys think? Which is so stupid because it's so clearly a foul. There were people who were like, that's not a foul, because from the back you can't see that his glove is on the ground, but from the front it's really, really clear. There are people who are like, it's your job to finish the fight, it's the ref's job to protect you, blah, blah, blah. Like, fucking no, that's a foul. You're supposed to like have wherewithal of what the rules of a fight are. You don't go biting people just because you're trying to win a fight. And then ties, lots and lots of ties, like overwhelmingly. In Thai language, I honestly didn't see anyone say that this wasn't a foul, but by and large, the comments were sportsmanship is more important than just trying to win the fight. Like, this was an unsportsmanlike thing to do, and he should be very embarrassed. And whoever runs the Pet Yindi, who's the promoter of this show, whoever runs the Pet Yindi account did this stupid, like, what do you guys think thing when they posted it, rather than being like, this is obviously what it is. And then Sia Boat, who is in charge of Pet Yindi, he is the son of the first promoter of Pet Yindi, and he's the main promoter of it now. He posted on his Facebook page, he was like, this is absolutely a foul, and let this be a lesson to everybody that sportsmanship is important and you will lose your fight if you show unsportsmanlike behavior. And it's a fucking foul. But because I'm reading Thai responses, of which I totally agree, Chanchai Tamarang Si, he's in the Muay Thai library, his entire style is teeping, which is like, he turns the teep into an entire style, which is amazing. He has like 12 different teeps, and they're very nasty. And he was bragging to me when we filmed with him about how he had separated the muscle over the bladder of, I think it was Chamok Pet. This is a nasty, nasty thing to like dig your toes in between someone's muscle. I don't know how he could possibly know that, because that's the kind of thing that would be diagnosed after the fight. So I don't know if it's like talked about in media afterwards or whatever. But this is not someone who's like, oh, I'm all about point fighting. This is someone who wants to like hurt his opponent. And he posted about this and he was like, this is lacking sportsmanship. Like, this is something that we as Thai people should not condone, blah, blah, blah. So this is to say that on the one side, everyone was like, this is unsportsmanlike. This is not a gentleman's sport, blah, 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 this kind of thing. It was only English speaking. And I'm not going to say that these are, you know, people who live in America or whatever. This is just in English on the internet. So these people could be coming from anywhere. There were tons of people who were saying this thing where they're like, this isn't a foul, or like, you're just getting the job done, or blah, 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 this kind of thing. Nobody was saying it was unsportsmanlike. They were just haggling over whether this was technically a foul or not based on the glove being on the canvas or not. Like, had it floated up a smidgen of an inch or something, they'd be like, this is totally fine because it's not a foul, rather than like, even if it's not a foul, that's a fucked up thing to do. And so having just experienced this kind of like divide in the West and Thailand in terms of like how this thing was seen, this idea of the like, you know, militant or police or whatever revenge guy, where it's like he's doing horrible entrepreneurial homicide, but it's okay because he's military or police, or it's okay because it's the apocalypse, or it's okay because of his family being murdered, or whatever the thing is. Like, we know it's wrong, but we come up with some kind of caveat to make it acceptable. But this is very much the theme of what was being condoned by these comments from these English-speaking commenters, which is that you get into a ring to try to like kill somebody, which is fucking Looney Tunes to me. Like, there are people also who say that they like this kind of format or that kind of format, or the small gloves or whatever the thing is, because it's closer to real fighting. Have you seen a real fight? They're sloppy, they're shitty, they're 30 seconds long, people get gassed in like 45 seconds, someone ends up running away, they go to the ground immediately. That's what a real fight looks like. And also, if you want to see a real fight, why are people training? Like, why are you learning skills? You don't need skills for a real fight. Like, just go watch someone get shot if that's what kind of like intensity you want to see in the ring. Like, there are I feel like there are times I've seen Muhammad Ali when he's knocking someone out and he has his hand cocked for like a second punch as they're falling and he doesn't throw it. I don't know whether that's because he's like, I don't want to fell him, or if that's because Muhammad Ali is like, he's going down, like, this guy is done already, I don't need to hit him again. We've kind of gotten into this tolerance or desensitization maybe, and I don't know whether it came from MMA or not, but like, there are some really nasty highlights of MMA knockouts where someone is on the ground already unconscious and the person is continuing to fucking hit them unconscious until the ref comes and pulls them off. Like, I don't understand this. One of the things that Charnchai said in his post, where he was like, this is unsportsmanlike, he was also giving a lesson where he's like, this person has the same career as you. Like, when you get into the ring with another fighter, you're both fighters. Like, you have respect for that person because you're in the same line of work. So this would be like a garbage collector talking shit about garbage collectors, or like looking down on them or hurting them or something like this. Like, you are of a family in a sense, like having the same job as this person. You're both fighters, so you have respect for that person out of the fact that you are both fighters. Is that Anna? Oh no, I'm gonna have to walk through this. I have to walk through this whole puddle. My feet are getting wet. And this is not me saying that like, oh, we should all just point fight and like, you know, don't hurt each other and blah, blah, blah. Like, absolutely. Like, you can hurt your opponent in the ring, but don't fucking, like, give them brain damage or whatever the thing is. But anyway, the whole point of this was listening to this change where, like, the court takes care of things rather than you having to be, like, vengeful on your own accord. This is seen as more civilized. In Thailand, Muay Thai is called a gentleman's sport. A lot of the criticism coming from Thais, like older Thais, who came up in Muay Thai and who are purveyors of Muay Thai and part of the lineage of Muay Thai, part of their criticism of the changes that one is bringing in with the small gloves and the changes to rules and all these things, they're like, this is a gentleman's sport and this is not gentleman's performance. Like, what's happening in the ring in one is not a gentleman's sport. So this is something that's important to Thais now, and Thai cultural heritage of what Muay Thai means and what Muay Thai is. And I don't think that people should lose track of the fact that it's a sport. Like, I was reading a quote from Tyson, and Tyson's a fucking scary dude. And I don't know that you should, like, take your personal life advice from Tyson. The dude's had some serious problems. Like, he has some serious demons that he's had to work on for a really long time. But when he was 20, 19, however old he was when he was, like, at the top of his game, he was saying, don't call me an athlete. He's like, that's not what I am. I'm a killer, blah, blah, blah. Which is like, people are gonna read this, and it's this Fight Club situation where you're like reading it and you're like, yo, this is how I'm gonna live my life. And it's like, you're reading this, but then you're gonna go like hit a bag in a gym and maybe have a smoker rather than like, Tyson was a scary, messed up dude who's had to have like a lot of work done, and he's done that work. Like, good on him. He has done a lot of that work to work on himself, and he doesn't necessarily have to change that mental idea about himself, but that's not a way to like idolize what you're doing. You don't have to think of yourself as an athlete, but you do have to understand that what you're doing is a ring sport. Like, you're not getting in and like murdering people. That's not what you're doing. And the idea of getting someone to submit to you, that's something that Kevin and I talk about a lot with Muay Thai, and that in Thailand, the focus is not aggression. Like, you don't actually get points, or you don't get rewarded for aggression. In fact, a lot of times aggression is looked at as a problem. If you're like super aggressive in the ring, it looks like you're out of control of yourself. Instead, what's really important in Thailand's Muay Thai is dominance. And dominance can look very different. You can be dominating someone, moving away from them. You can't be aggressive moving away from someone. You can totally dominate someone, being like, fucking come get me, and you're not gonna be able to get me. That's dominating someone. You can dominate someone by being like, go ahead and try and hurt me, which is not even like smashing on them. That's just like, you can't do anything to me. That's not aggression. You can't aggressively tell someone to like come get you. That's not how that works. And so, I don't know. These are the thoughts I was having based on the ideas that came up from this moment in this podcast. So, not full thoughts. I am not an expert in these things, but I shape those ideas and have these opinions based on a lot of knowledge and experience around it. So, I don't know. A continually developing thought in that sense. Thanks for listening.